1.
Hi Year 13s, I hope you and your families are getting on well. This is just a revision video to cover the content that we've covered so far for the US Constitution. So it's on the nature of the US Constitution as well as the amendment process. Now we all know that a constitution is a sort of set of rules which determines where sovereignty lies in a political system, and it also really sort of clearly, explicitly outlines the relationship. It establishes the relationship between the government and the governed, okay? And for the US Constitution, the relationship between the government and the governed is really explicitly outlined through the Bill of Rights, okay, which is the first 10 amendments to the US Constitution passed in 1791, okay? And that sort of relationship between the government and the governed is sort of defined through the rights of individuals, but it's also defined through the rights of states, okay, against the federal government, and we'll return to this a little bit later, okay? So the Constitution was created by the Founding Fathers in 1789. Now, that was as a result of the fact that the Articles of Confederation were considered by the framers of the Constitution, by the Founding Fathers, as weak and ineffective, okay? Those 13 colonies under the Articles of Confederation were independent colonies, independent states, and if, for example, a quarrel or a problem or an issue arose between two different states, there was no central authority which would be able to deal with those issues, okay? And which is why it was really important for there to be a sort of centralized government, a centralized authority, okay, which could basically preside over the states within America. So in terms of the Constitution itself, originally it had 7 articles, okay? Articles 1 to 3 outline the various powers of the 3 branches of government, okay? So it outlines the powers of Congress, it outlines the powers of the President, so the executive branch of government, as well as the Supreme Court, okay? The 4th article, that outlines the powers and the rights of states, okay? The 5th article outlined what the amendment process was, and the 6th article was what we call the Supremacy Clause, okay? That the US Constitution was to be considered as sort of the higher law of the land, okay? Article 7 itself was the ratification of the Constitution amongst the 13 colonies, okay? So in terms of the nature of the US Constitution, okay, firstly, it is codified. Okay, and that means that it is contained within a single document and that it was written in a particular point in the country's history. Okay, specifically, the framers were writing the Constitution between, let's say, 1787 and around 1791 when the sort of the Bill of Rights are passed. Okay, so the Founding Fathers actually sort of establish a US Constitution in 1789, okay? So it's codified, which means that it's contained in a single document, and it was written at a particular point in the country's history, okay? Now, this is quite different from the UK Constitution, because as you know, and as you've learned throughout Year 12, the UK Constitution is uncodified, okay? Which means that it is located across many different sources and across many different documents, okay? And it hasn't been written at a particular point in obviously the United Kingdom's history, but it has evolved over time. So the first 10 amendments to the US Constitution, which were passed in 1791, they were what we term as the Bill of Rights, okay? So you've got the First Amendment, for example, which is the freedom of expression and freedom of religion. You've got the Second Amendment, which is the right for individuals and state militias to bear arms. You've got the 8th Amendment, which protects people from cruel and unusual punishment. And you've got the 10th Amendment, okay, which outlines the powers reserved for states, okay, the rights and powers reserved for states. Okay, and this is particularly important, the 10th Amendment, okay, because it outlines the rights of individuals, but it also protects the power of states against the federal government, okay? So anything which is not mentioned in the Constitution as powers for the federal government, okay, those powers are reserved for the states, okay? Where the Constitution is not explicit about the powers of the 3 branches of government, those powers are reserved for the states. Now, the US Constitution then, in terms of the 10th Amendment, which protects the powers of the states, okay, against federal government, this sort of underpins the concept of federalism, okay? And what we mean by this is that in the USA, there is a federal system of government which operates in comparison to the UK's unitary system of government, okay? So in a federal system of government, as we have in the USA, okay, there's a central government, there's a central authority within the USA, but power also then resides with various different states, okay, who have their own executives in the form of governors. They have their own sort of legislatures where they can pass their own laws for their in sort of areas of their reserved powers, and they also have their own sort of federal courts. Okay, they also have their own state courts. So that really underpins the concept of federalism. Okay, that states have their sort of own unalienable rights. In comparison, the UK has a unitary system of government, which means that sovereignty solely lies with central government in the UK, okay? Sovereignty solely lies with UK Parliament, okay, in theory, which means that even though power has been devolved to many administrations such as Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, in theory, Parliament can take back those powers, okay? The US Constitution is also a blend of specificity and vagueness, okay? Which means that in terms of being specific, we've got the enumerated powers. Now, the enumerated powers are the powers which are mentioned explicitly by the Constitution for the three branches of government, okay? So the explicit powers of Congress, the explicit powers of the executive, and the explicit powers of the Supreme Court. Now, the reason why it's a blend of specificity and vagueness is because there are also some implied powers which can be implied, okay, from the wording of the US Constitution. Now, for the executive, for example, this relates to the president's implied power as commander-in-chief, okay? For the Supreme Court, it relates to the court's implied power of judicial review, okay? And we'll learn about those sort of implied powers when we come to cover each of those various units as we go through the course, okay? Right.